Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you today, since it is Friday, come to you with the Friday Reads and tell you about, just what's going on in life, what have I read this last week and finished, and then what am I planning on reading for the next week. And so, just starting with what's been going on in life. This last week, it's been a really good week at school. We've gotten quite a bit accomplished, I feel, and my sixth graders are actually doing some research right now. They're going to be doing a big project that they will be finishing up at the end of the month, and we've been doing a lot of book research and internet research, and the English teacher and I have been, kind of going through some steps on how to research and how to, when you get a resource, a book or internet site or whatever, how to properly read those, how to source them, how to corroborate evidence, how to, look at the context of stuff. We've been going through all of those reading like a historian skills, and she's been covering note taking and citations and all that kind of stuff in her class. And so the kids, hopefully by the end of the month, will have some nice projects to present to the community, and so we're real excited about that. And we thought it was real appropriate with this being Black History Month that all of their projects are centered around civil rights movements in one way or another. A lot of them are with the movements for African Americans during the civil rights period, but we also got some groups that are doing women's rights. We got some groups that are doing Native American rights. We've got, what's our other group? Oh goodness, I went blank. Cesar Chavez and the Latino movement. So we've got some varying civil rights stuff going on, and it's been really good. Yesterday we took them to the public library, took a little mini field trip to the public library and got some more sources, and I got some through our AEA, our local association that helps with resources in the classroom. And so anyway, they have been inundated with material, and now we just got to make sure we get it all read so we can come up with the ideas for our project and put together our project. And my seventh grade class just wrapped up on Wednesday. They took the test for World War II, and so we are moving into Asia. And so today, or yesterday and today, we're starting East Asia. I always like to start my kids off with a vocab lesson on just what new words and stuff are we going to be dealing with in the new unit. And today we'll be doing some map work, looking at maps of East Asia and getting the kids familiar with the area, whether it's the country and capitals or just the physical features in the area, because your geography always affects your history, and so we like to show that the correlation between the two. So anyway, that's where we're at in seventh grade. My eighth grade is wrapping up our American Revolution unit, and so we are going next week. We should be testing on that, and we're a little bit behind. I kind of have to get it kicked in gear here so we don't fall too far behind, because we still have to cover the Constitution and do all that before spring break. So I want to get that done, so I got to get those kids going, and they know that they know the end of the unit's coming, so we've been doing some real good work. And then my high school class is looking at the Renaissance, and so we've been looking at famous painters, and yesterday we were talking about writers and how the thought processes were changing, and we also looked at Gutenberg and the printing press. So we've been doing some real good stuff in school, and I think the kids have been getting a lot out of it, so I've been real happy with that. In my reading life, let's go there. So at the end of last week, I finished what I started back on January 1st. So I got it done. Within the month. I finished The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt by Edmund Morris. And if you are not familiar with this book, you need to get familiar. This is one of the best biographies I've ever read. Edmund Morris was a heck of a storyteller. It's made me excited to read the other two volumes that I got over here on the shelf. It's made me excited to go find his book on Thomas Edison. Yeah, I'm to the point where I want to read everything by Edmund Morris. This book actually covers from the birth of Theodore Roosevelt and talks about his childhood during the Civil War time period, and then growing up in the mid to late 1800s and what that was like. And of course, if you know Roosevelt, he suffered from asthma, and talks about how he had to overcome that challenge, and how he thought that making his body physically fit is the way to conquer asthma and his other medical issues that he ran across, all of them usually centering around that asthma issue. But it was really good. It talked about his time in college and getting into politics. And then, eventually as it goes through, I always like reading about when he was the police commissioner, I think was his title, of New York City. That was always entertaining, and getting involved with like Jacob Riis and some of the other guys that were involved in the newspaper business. And it finishes off the first volume, because it's a trilogy. The first volume finishes off with, at the very end of the book, it's talking about the Rough Riders and going up San Juan Hill and all, the classic Spanish-American War stories. And the very last chapter deals with getting nominated as vice president, and then McKinley being assassinated and him taking over. And so the second volume, I believe, I haven't opened it up. I don't know if they backtrack any before going forward, but it should pick up right around basically becoming president. And I'm very excited for that, because I think Theodore Roosevelt led a fascinating life. I've read a handful of other books on him, and he's one of my favorite subjects in history to study. So I got that one finished, and this was also on my not only my January TBR, but it was also on my 2022 TBR. So I've gotten at least one book knocked off of the 12 that I chose. The next book that I finished was a biography from, and I left it at school. I took it back to school forgetting I had to make this video, so you'll have to, we'll just have to deal with that. But it comes from the American Presidents series that was put together by Arthur Schlesinger, who is the general editor. And the one that I read was on John Adams. So I've got the next one on Thomas Jefferson, because I bought the first 20 presidents for my classroom at school. I thought this would be a real good resource for the kids when they do biographies and just presidential history and stuff. And so I've been starting to read through all of them. And I've read the Washington one, read the Adams one. So I just finished the Adams one. Now, the Adams one, I don't know that I am going to put a big recommendation on it. To me, it was a little bit dry, but it was enjoyable in parts. There was parts where if it was just talking about what was going on with the presidency and stuff, it moved right along, and I found it to be pretty fascinating. It did a good job with the Alien and Sedition Acts in that time period. I enjoyed that, but by the same token, when he was talking about all of the major papers that John Adams wrote with his ideologies on democracy and what the government should be and all that kind of stuff, I found that part really dry, and I struggled through it. I didn't think the author did a great job with that. And so I'm not sure that I'm going to recommend that for the kids to read. I have it there in case they want to try it, but and then the other thing is, most of these books are between like 170 and 200 pages, right in there. So they're pretty short. And to cover John Adams's life in a less than 200 page book is almost ridiculous. And really, you could probably make that argument for all of them. But some of the authors, because it's various authors through the whole series, some of the authors do a better job than others of summarizing the lives of the people. Like the one on Abraham Lincoln, I really liked it. I really liked the one that was on, who was the other one I read? I liked the one on Washington. But then one of my favorite storytellers, H.W. Brands, I didn't like the one that he did on Wilson. So, I mean, it's kind of hit and miss on these books, because it's really hard to smash that whole life into one very slim volume. So anyway, I'm going to try the next one, Thomas Jefferson. That's the next one in line. I don't know if I'll get to it this week or next week, but I will be getting to it, I think, fairly soon. And then the third book that I read this week was Dark Sky Rising, Reconstruction and the Dawn of Jim Crow. And this is by Henry Louis Gates Jr., who, with Tanya Bolden. Now, Henry Louis Gates Jr. is really good with Civil War, Reconstruction, and African studies. I've thoroughly enjoyed his television programs. He's got some documentaries and stuff that he's done that are on PBS, and I've really enjoyed those. So I thought that I was really going to like this book. It is meant for middle grade. It has, I'm going to kind of flip through it and you'll be able to see, has a ton of pictures, which is always good for middle grade. They are visual creatures, but it is very short. And of course, I got the uncorrected proof, so I'm not sure exactly how long the total book ended up being, but let's see, 187 pages long, and they are covering an era. It says Reconstruction to the dawn of Jim Crow, but they actually start with the antebellum period, then they move through the Civil War, and then they get into Reconstruction and Jim Crow. And I honestly thought it was much too large of a historical period to give it justice in such a short span, especially considering all of the pictures that you've included in this. And I'm not saying the pictures are bad, but you got to balance that out. And when I read it, I didn't think it had to me a ton of detail, which I think the middle grade can handle more detail than what they gave in this. It turned into a little bit of a name dump where Gates and Bolden are putting in just about every name they could think of for this time period, which I'm not saying that they don't need, that they need books on their own is essentially what they need. Put in some great historical people in there, but they need more detail on them. They gave like a 3-sentence blurb on most of them, 2-3 sentence blurb, and then they moved on to the next person, the next person, next person. So I struggled a little bit with this just for that simple fact. I totally appreciate what they were trying to do, but I'm not sure if it totally landed just simply because of there was not enough detail. It moved along too quickly. I think it could have been much more effective if you would have taken, say, one person from each, from antebellum, from Civil War, Reconstruction, and then getting into Jim Crow. If you would have taken one or two people from each one and then expanded on their lives, I think this could have been much, much more powerful. But again, I totally appreciate the effort that was made, and I understand what they were trying to do with this. So I did get that read. It will end up in my classroom for my kids as a resource for their research on this era in general. I know this might work as a really good source for the kids in their background of the civil rights movement and why the civil rights movement needed to happen. So I don't want to downplay it. I just think that there could have been probably some stuff done to improve that. I think they could have went into a lot more detail on the individuals and maybe just expanded it into several different volumes. I don't know. So what am I reading right now and into next week? So I went to the library, went to my public library, and I had asked our librarian if she could bring in some more Philip R. Craig books. And she brought in 3 of them for me, 3 of these nice little paperbacks. And so I have got a shoot on Martha's Vineyard started. And of course, this is from the Martha's Vineyard mystery series that I really enjoyed last March during March Mammoths, March Mystery Madness. I picked up Philip R. Craig, thoroughly enjoyed them. I read 4 of them from the Clarinda Library, read 3 of them from our or maybe it was 3 from Clarinda and 4 from here. I can't remember, but I read a handful of them, really enjoyed them. I think is there 19 in the series, maybe 19 of them. And so I wanted to read some more. So I asked her and she brought in 3 more books. So that is one of them that I'm reading. And so far, I'm only 34 pages in, but so far J.W. Jackson is, he's got his wife and his first child, and they are fishing, as they always are in his mystery series, and they run upon some rumors and gossip that's going around the island about a movie that's going to be made. So hence a shoot on Martha's Vineyard, and of course there's going to be a murder. I haven't got to it yet, but there'll be a murder that happens. But it's talking about a movie that's going to get made, and of course his wife is extremely attractive, and the guy that's putting together the movie, or helping to put together the movie, is starting to hit on her, and J.W. Jackson's a little jealous, and he's wanting her to get in the movie as one of the extras. And I don't know, there's a couple different storylines going there, so that's kind of fun to read. I picked up a classic, F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. And of course, it's got an introduction by John Grisham. So I had to have that. This was a copy that was actually sent by Steve Donahue to me, and I appreciate that, Steve. And so I'm getting to that. I've been reading this before bed. Now, I haven't done it the last couple nights because I've been very, very tired before I went to bed. But I've got the first, 3 chapters? Yeah, I'm on chapter 4. So I've got 59 pages of the book read. This is my wife's favorite. So we have met the main character, and we have met Jay Gatsby, the neighbor, who is extremely rich and likes to flaunt the money and likes to have people over the house. Just got done in the story with the very first big party that the main character goes to, and Nick is the main character's name. And we've also met some of the ladies, Daisy Buchanan and her husband, and I'm trying to remember what his name is, Mr. Buchanan. And they've got a rough marriage, and both of them are cheating on the other one, and it's you've been introduced to a little bit of that. And so I really like the movie that has, oh goodness, Leonardo DiCaprio in it. I really liked that version of The Great Gatsby. I've seen that. My wife has seen it. She's read the book, not this one, but her copy. She loves it. So I was wanting to read it just because my wife had read it and had a lot of praise for the book. My wife doesn't read a ton of books, and so when she reads one and really enjoys it, I want to experience that with her. When I was at the library picking up the Martha's Vineyard book, I also picked up a National Geographic magazine, the newest one out, and I am very excited. I got a little bookmark in there. I started reading that, but I haven't got into the main article, which is why I grabbed it. They're rebuilding Notre Dame. If you remember right, Notre Dame caught fire back in, I think it was 2019. It caught fire, and it is, of course, an iconic piece of architecture that everybody recognizes around the world, and brings in millions of tourists every year. So you can imagine the money that is spent for in Paris because of the cathedral, and so they're wanting to not lose that piece of heritage, and so they're rebuilding that. And so the whole article is on rebuilding the cathedral, and of course they got some real photography there of the rebuilding and the cleanup process, and then they've got some computer done stuff. I always like National Geographic for that, but I'm really excited about this article. I'll try to remember next week to let you know how it goes. I just didn't have enough time to actually finish the article. I'm not sure what else is in here. I hadn't flipped through the whole magazine, but I do know that that's the one I was excited about. The last book that I am working on, that I've been working on for a couple weeks now, and I'm doing a buddy read with Patrice Jones and Vin over at Revenant Reads. We are reading The Hemmingses of Monticello, An American Family by Annette Gordon Reed. This is a Pulitzer Prize winning book, winner of the National Book Award, as it says on the title, or on the cover there. This book is phenomenal. As you can see, do you see all of the tabs I've got? I take notes in books, but I don't typically take that many notes. And this thing is just blowing my mind on just the new stuff that I'm reading and that I'm learning from Annette Gordon Reed's writing here. She's been talking about, it's not just, when I originally got this book, I I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking it was about only Sally Hemings and her relationship with Thomas Jefferson. But Annette Gordon Reed's actually covering the entire family. It's not just Sally. And so I've been learning a ton about the individual members, like her mother Elizabeth and brother James and several other ones. I'm not going to remember all the names that have been covered so far, but it's been really good. And I am to the point where Jefferson is in Paris and he is sent for his daughter, and Sally has come along as the daughter. Or with the daughter, excuse me. And it's just talking about all kinds of stuff. Annette Gordon Reed does one heck of a job. You fly through this book as you're reading. You read, I don't know, you can read 40 pages and it feels like you've only been reading for 5 minutes. It's that good. So not only is she doing the history of the family, but she's also doing building a lot of context for the story. Looking at like in these last couple chapters, she's looked a lot at French law regarding slavery and how slaves could be freed in France. And there's just a lot of stuff I'm learning in this, and this is really good. Highly, highly, highly recommend that to anybody who is looking for studies of slavery, studies of Jefferson, studies of this revolutionary era, all that kind of stuff. So highly recommend that book. So anyway, that's what I've been reading, and I will continue to read through this week. I might get into Thomas Jefferson, but I doubt it. I'm probably going to actually hold off on that until I get done with the Hemingses of Monticello. They always ask me how I read multiple multiple books all at one time, because I might have 5 or 6 books going all at one time. And a lot of people look at me cross-eyed. Well, one of the reasons I'm able to do that is, first of all, they always say I would mix up all of the information in the books. Well, one of the ways that I do it is I try not to read 2 books that are in the same that are about either the same person or the same history genre. So I try not to read 2 books about the Civil War or 2 books about Jefferson all at the same time. I try to read about different periods so that I don't mix up the information that they are providing. If you ever wondered about how I do that, that's, in my mind, that's one of the ways that I keep it straight. The last time that I did it, and I wish I wouldn't have, is I was reading the Shelby Foote Volume 1 on the Civil War, and I was also reading Bruce Catton Volume 1 on the Civil War in his trilogy, and I was reading them at the same time, and I did start to mix the stories up, and it became almost a little confusing as I was reading, just because of just too much information about the same thing. And so what I ended up having to do was power through one and then finish the other, and so I try not to do that usually. Anyway, BookTube, I hope everybody's having a great week and getting ready for a great weekend. I know I am. I got to hurry up and get this wrapped up. I will go upload this video. I think I'm going to maybe even make one more video real fast and get it uploaded for this weekend on the book haul, the fiction side of my book haul this last weekend. We got meetings at school this morning. We're setting the calendar for the year. We got negotiations going and all that kind of stuff. And so I think today's the calendar meeting. So I got to go to those meetings, and so I need to hurry up and get done. So anyway, I thank you for watching. I hope everyone's having a great reading week, and hope you're staying warm. It's been freezing cold here. I mean, absolutely freezing cold. I walked to school, and my fingertips, they hurt for about 2 hours. Takes about 2 hours for my fingertips to stop hurting after I walk to school. It's been brutally cold in the mornings. So anyway, I hope you're staying warm. So till next time, happy reading.